Welcome to Star Lake Homesteading. Here at Star Lake we freeze-dry food. We freeze-dry food for our clients. They come in with their frozen food and we help to put the food in the freeze dryer and start it up for them so that they can get freeze-dried food, and we charge so much a load. We also have chickens, gardening, but today's topic is going to be on a DIY slab edger. Now I made this little edger. I made a couple before, but this is my last one, and I think it's a big improvement on the other ones. Now an edger does just that. If you look at this board, you see some bark on it on each side. So what the edger does is cuts these flitches. These would be called flitches once they're cut off, and then you end up with a 1x6 or 1x5, 1x6 or 1x4. But this is the end product. Once we slab it, we put it through my planer, my thickness planer, and then I put it through my table saw that's got a dado blade on it, and I'm able to cut these dados. So this is the end product. You go, there's the roosters. Anyway, this is what we end up with. And then we'll nail this to the wall, and it'll improve the appearance of my wall. I don't like this. Okay, so that's the idea. That's what I'm doing. I've got a bandsaw sawmill, and what I do is I salvage power poles. Okay. Yes, you'll say, well, how about the creosote? Yes, there's some creosote on it. Some don't have any. And so I make the best of what I've got. As I saw, and we'll do an episode of that in the future. As I saw, I removed the outer side of the logs. That's where the creosote is. And I end up with the middle core, which is good wood. Okay, so here's my slab, but first I want to show you my edger. We'll just put this down here for now. So what I've got is a frame. I don't know if you could see the whole thing there. It's 14 feet long. Beautiful day today in west central Alberta. Neighbors are bombing around with their quads and trikes. That's good. I hope they have fun. I used to do that as a kid too. Anyway, this is my edger, and I've got a frame, and on this frame is this carriage. Okay, so I hope you can see that. And on my carriage is my skill saw. My skill saw is bolted to a plate, and I can lift this up and down, slide this around, and you'll see why in a few seconds. Okay? And when I'm cutting the board, my plate here, this yellow one, goes below this so that it rides on the board and it holds the board down. Okay, so this is what we call the heel. Okay, so that's basically how it goes. This little spiky thing holds the boards in place so that once I push the board in, it'll pinch it, and then it doesn't flop around as I cut it. So what I'm going to do, I think I've showed you pretty much everything that I needed to show you. I've got cross braces here, cross pieces of wood, and this is to hold my board up. I'll show you. Okay, that holds the board away from the metal, so when the saw comes through, I got it just at the right depth so that it'll cut into this a little bit, but not too much. Now, I ordered a laser beam so that I can have a track line or a cutting line, and it didn't work as good as I thought it would. During the day, it just doesn't work good. So I'm going to have to measure it today. I know that I've got to be 4 3/4 of an inch from my edge, and then I give this a little tap so that it locks in at that end. Okay, so here on my carriage, I didn't show you that, but it's got a couple of notches in here, and these are for, this is my first cut, So I'll put that on my first cut. Right now the saw is the saw blade is on the wood, so nothing's gonna, I have to bring it back to get it set down. Anyway, this is my 0 cut. This is 4-inch, this is 6-inch, this is 8-inch, and this is 10-inch. That's the width of the board. You'll see that as we go along. Now, what else is there I could say about that? Okay, well, we're going to cut the first cut anyway, and you'll see how that works. Now, I do have to change this system a little bit. I need to put a hold-down wheel here on a spring that'll hold the board down. Because right now, as you can see, it shatters, so I have to put my hand on it to hold it down. That's my first cut. Okay, now I don't have to touch anything. I just bring the saw back, lift the heel up, and slide it over. This time I'm going to go for a 1x6 because I believe that's wide enough for a 1x6. Yes, it is. Okay, so we'll go with a 1x6. Okay, here we go. Okay, now we take the flitches. These are called flitches now. And they'll go in the flitch wagon, which will be turned into firewood later on. And this is my 1x6. Okay, it's just about bang on. Now, as you can see, when I say I call it a 1x6, what you'll say, wait a minute, that's 5.5. You're right. Now I'll tell you why. In the olden days, as they call it, the sawyers would cut their rough wood at 2x4 or 1x4. That's just an example, okay? And it was rough, so it was 2x4, full 2-inch by 4-inch. Then it went through the kiln or the drying processes, and then it went through the planers. Once it came out of the planers, it was 3/4 of an inch thick by 5.5 inches wide. Okay, when you go to the lumber yard, you'll say, I want a 2x6. Well, they'll sell you a 1.5 by 5.5. That's okay. That's what it is. That's dimensional lumber. And that, at least in Canada and the States, that's what it is. So, here we go. Now we're going to cut another board just for the fun of it. Because I have fun doing this stuff. Okay, so we put the board down. Measure it 4 3/4. Because that's where my first cut is going to be. Right about there. Okay. Give it a little tap to lock it in at the end. Set my saw at 0. That's the first cut. And away we go. Now I got my first cut done. I lift it up, bring it over to 6-inch, which is right there. Throw the flitches out. And there we go, 1x6. Now, like I was saying before, what I'm going to do now is go into my shop where I've got a thickness planer all set up, and I'll cut it down. I'll just plane one side. I don't have to plane both. All I need is 3/4 of an inch thick. I want them all 3/4 of an inch thick, because if I have oddball thicknesses, you'll end up with something like that, and it doesn't look very good. By having it planed at 3/4, then match. It makes a perfect fit. All right, so that's what I'm doing, and I hope that this can help you. I put this together because getting older, my arms are not the way they used to be. And handling a skill saw all the time, it gets to be pretty hard on my arms. So this way I lock in the board, saw it, do my 2 cuts or 3, whatever it takes, and I've got my lumber. So I hope that this helps you, and if you could change it to suit you, that's okay too. I encourage you to make your own. This is angle iron. It's an 1.25 inch square angle iron. Sorry, and 1/8 inch thick. Okay, and it's I think it's 2 feet by 14 feet long. You make the carriage accordingly. Again, I'll show you the carriage. Okay, hopefully you can see it better. So all it is a carriage with wheels on it. These wheels I got from Amazon. I believe they're the exercise machine, the rowing machine. I believe that's where they come from, but they work perfect for this, just perfect. And I've got a bar here where this could slide back and forth on. Okay, and on my frame, as you can see, I got the angle iron up so that I can make a notch in here for my 0 cut, like I was saying before. And that way you don't have to guess. You just slide it over to the notch, 4 inch, there you go, and away you go. I think it works pretty good. Enjoy. I hope that if you do decide to make one, that it works good for you. I have a lot of siding, but I don't feel like spending $10,000 on those deluxe edgers. I wish I could. You know, if somebody wants to donate one, that's great. But, you know, it's not going to happen. So I'm happy with this. It's slower, but that's okay because I've got all the time in the world. So again, welcome to Star Lake Homesteading. I want to do some future videos. I want to show you how we salvage power logs with the power poles with the bandsaw sawmill, and hopefully that'll give you a few ideas. There's disadvantages. There's the nails and screws to watch out for, but once you've got as many as I've done, you kind of get to know where they're at and how to protect yourself from them. They do wreak havoc on the blades at times. All right, have a good day. Today is December 24th, 2024, right? Yeah. And I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And may life be good for you and your family. Thank you.